Greetings, this is Chris Turner, in-game name Strange Aliens, and today we're going to have a quick talk about the new hero loadout system. I'm not going to talk about any specific loadouts, I'll cover those in some separate videos, but I just wanted to talk about the general system, how I think it goes, and my opinions on it, and some different approaches you can use for building your loadouts. So, let's first start with the new hero loadout system. Here we are. It's my current loadout, and we've got this mechanism here. So we've got our different hero loadouts that we can build. It's my constructor one. So first thing that's worth noting here is the main difference in this. So previously, if we take Mega Base Kyle, the hero would have had sort of about 7-8 different sections in here of a key set of traits that would be around their base, around their ball rush, and as you upgraded the hero you'd improve each of those sort of abilities with additional stuff, and that would be your main behaviour. Your character that you pick, that individual character, would control most of what you do and how you behave in the game, and then you would just add support and tactical onto the end just to boost and buff certain aspects of that character. But I can see the design of their hero system. You were very much, if there was a character that had the set of traits that you wanted, then you would be restricted to just that character and you couldn't really customize it. So particularly the challenge that I saw in that was that you ended up with sort of half a dozen or so just meta characters, like if I look at my previous heroes that I had leveled up, some meta characters like Heavy Base Kyle for Constructor, UAH for a Soldier, Striker AC for Farming, and so on, and then Enforcer Grizzly for Teddy based, Shamrock Reclaimer for sort of maximum uptime on Teddy and shock turrets, and you generally played just one of those standard characters. It had a set of traits and you were stuck with it. And I can kind of see where they're going from here with the new hero loadout, that you have character here which actually has only one. It's got some standard traits of the class, so Kinetic Overlord and Base, that all constructors now have, and then it has just one specific perk that character delivers, in this case Mega Base, and if it's in the commander position I get Mega Base Plus. And then what we're actually doing then in the model here is we're taking our character that we want to play with their standard traits and some abilities, and then we're customizing and adding each of the extra traits that we want to buff up that particular character. So if we look at that, let's look at the positives first. I personally think there's much more incentive to play some different heroes. You can kind of fiddle around with stuff, it's much easier to move around. You're not stuck with one meta hero who is always the best, that you always see in every mission. Like pretty much every mission prior to this you would always see a Fragment Flurry Jess, every mission, and this gives a lot of opportunity to mix it up. I know I've seen a few posts on YouTube and stuff where people are saying, oh, it's really horrible, I can't play any character, I've got to play, in this case everyone's saying I've got to play this guy, Tactical Assault Sledgehammer, because he's now the absolute best character in the game. And I don't think that's true. I think you can actually mix and match up lots of different characters more easily. It's also interesting, previously I only had 4 or 5, no, probably I had a dozen set of good characters leveled up for the specific roles that I wanted. So a farming loadout, a ninja loadout, a couple of constructor loadouts and a soldier loadout, and that was it. And this new model is encouraging me to level up and experiment with a much greater number of heroes. So that's good. I think that's good. And the fact that they've given us enough experience and evolution materials to do that is a great improvement. I think it's nice to be able to customise your builds to match your play style. So if you want to focus on pure weapon damage, you can create a build with a soldier, or actually even if a constructor if you wanted to, that focuses on assault damage. Or if you've got a Ninja, you can focus on weapon damage, but you could also focus on shadow stance abilities, or if you're playing Master Grenadier Ramirez, you can focus around frag grenade builds. So you're not kind of limited to the builds that Epic have decided, the features that Epic have decided that were tied to that character. You've got a lot more control, so I think that's good. I think also the other thing that's interesting is with this model, because they've removed quite a lot of the super perks that lots of the characters had, they've actually nerfed some stuff, particularly Teddy builds in Outlanders. That's severely nerfed, and I think Soldier seems to be nerfed as well. My soldiers don't feel as strong as they did before, but actually I don't think that's actually a bad thing. The game was way too easy before. Particularly if I always found, particularly my constructors were always good, but soldiers and Outlanders I always felt massively overpowered for the level. And I think in some cases, particularly Teddy Outlanders, and some people will disagree with me with this, but I think they were ruining the game for players who didn't want to play Teddy Outlanders. So I like playing Constructor, that's my favourite. I like killing husks with traps, but actually if you're on a team with 3 Outlanders playing Enforcer Grizzly and Fragment Flurry, there was actually no reason to build at all, hardly, and that kind of ruined the game for me a little bit. So I'm kind of glad they've balanced it a bit. They've brought the game, I think the power creep in the game went up when we had weapons reperks, so you actually had stronger weapons, stronger traps, and then they nerfed the spawn rates, and I think you ended up, and then they buffed turrets and things, so I think you ended up with the general level of ability and damage you could do to the husk going up, and I think this is good. This balances it right the way back down again. Also, I think you've got now a better progression for new players. So if you think about survivors, and if we look at my survivor squads, you progress through the game. You add more slots to your survivor squads gradually. You slot in the best survivors you have at that time, and then next time you open a llama or get a reward from a mission, if you get a slice survivor that's better, you slot them in replacement of ones you've got, and you gradually over time build up a level, and it encourages you to sort of learn about the game as you go along. And now the hero mechanism matches the same. You start off with loadout, with one loadout, perhaps with less support team. You put in the best troop, the best heroes you have in there, and then as you earn more heroes, get more heroes on llama, you gradually will swap ones out, swap new ones in, open up more slots. So I think the kind of the pattern through the game is much better in terms of just, rather than before it was just like get this one hero, max it up as high as you can and just play it. So I think from that point of view, from new players starting, I think the progression feels a lot better. For an older player like myself who's got pretty much every single hero in the game, it's a bit daunting at the start, but I'm kind of getting there. So let's look at some of the negatives. You'd actually think with 170 odd heroes in the game, now with pretty much every single one having a unique trait. So if we look at my set of heroes here, I've got a good set of heroes, and if I look at my bonus, every single one has now got a different perk that I can give to it. So you would think, actually having that there's almost an infinite number of combinations of things you can put together to make stuff. And actually that's the one disappointment. One of the disappointments for me on this is that when you actually start doing it, you're slightly limited in terms of what you can do based on the commander you have. So if I look at, let's take this. So I've got my soldier here, First Shot Rio. So she's got Warcry, Frag Grenade and Shockwave. So ending up, you kind of you look through the list of all the perks that all your other supporting heroes have, and actually there ends up to only be a choice of about 7 or 8 that you can fit into that slot that aren't completely pointless. There's no point giving a assault weapon based hero perks around teddies or perks around snipers or perks around melee weapons in particular. So you actually end up with almost getting back to what you had before of a particular, you pick a particular commander hero that you want, and the support team perks that you want with that commander are almost largely dictated for you. So they haven't quite achieved the goal that they were trying for, of you building up completely random. You can build up completely random stuff, but if you want the optimal loadout for a particular soldier, for a particular commander, then the actual set of traits that are sensible are kind of fairly limited, especially if you want to do a specialist build like a Teddy build or something like that. There isn't the option that I'd hoped you would have in here. The other thing I want to say is, I kind of mentioned previously that on the plus side, that I'm glad that they've made the game harder, that they've nerfed the heroes, and some of the heroes feel weaker because they were massively overpowered for the game. But actually there is a negative side to that. They do actually feel weaker. Particularly I found playing a soldier based class, I felt way underpowered to what I did with UAH, and I think I'll get used to that after a few games through. Once I've tweaked it, re-perked some weapons to kind of best fit my loadout, I think that will gradually go away. But initially there is that weakness feeling, and particularly if you are a Teddy based Outlander player, then I think you'll probably feel a bit let down by this release. There's also the limit of, if you get through the game and you have got every single hero, and you have made an effort to try and buy every single event hero from, complete every event, get every event hero, buy every single hero from the shop, you end up with a huge amount of options of what you can do. If you haven't built that huge hero collection, then you're kind of going to be scrubbing around to try and find stuff that fits, because there's only one of everything, and if every person has a unique trait, you may end up finding, oh, I'm missing one or two heroes that would complement that build perfectly, and it's going to be really hard to get those. The only other one I would say is, they've actually, by giving all this flexibility, they've actually made it quite complex. It's kind of, the UI is really good, easy to work out, but I've actually found that they published a spreadsheet with all the heroes in the game, all the traits they had, and I spent probably 2 or 3 hours reading that spreadsheet line by line to work out what every single trait did, highlighting them all, and then building my own spreadsheet of all the possible sort of combinations of loadouts that I wanted, trying different combinations to end up with the ones that I think work best for me. And that's great, I love it on this game. The complexity and the depth is what really keeps me on the game. But I think if you took my son who plays, there's no way he would spend the time to understand that. He'll just end up slotting a whole load of random characters into his support team because he can't be bothered. So I think that's a slight downside. It's my brief overview, quick look at the new hero system and some of my thoughts of the positives and negatives. I'm going to follow up this with a sort of series of videos, so the next video I'm going to record will look at some different approaches of how you might go around building your hero loadouts, and then I will publish some separate videos for each of my loadouts explaining sort of what I've done and why I've done it that way. Thank you for watching. My in-game name is Strange Aliens. Feel free to look me up and add me as a friend, and hope you'll see another of my videos in the future. Cheers, bye.